What is a budget? A plan that tells us how much money we will get and how much money we will spend. Think of it like a pocket money plan. If your parents give you $500 every month, you have to decide how to use it. You may spend some on chocolates, some on toys, and save some for later. In the same way, a government makes a plan for how much money it will get, income, and how much it will spend, expenses. Where did the word budget come from? Long ago, in France, there was a word budget, which meant a leather bag. In Britain, in the 18th century, more than 200 years ago, the government used to keep its financial papers inside a bag and take them out to present them in Parliament. Since the financial statement, income and expenditure plan came from that bag, people started calling it a budget. Today, every country in the world calls its financial plan a budget. Budget in India. The budget is called the annual financial statement. There is a rule in the Indian Constitution, Article 112, that says every year before the new financial year starts, the government must present the budget in Parliament. This budget is called the Union Budget. Each state government also makes its own budget. Example of budget for kids to understand. Imagine a school organizes a picnic. The teacher makes a budget. 5,000 will come from student fees. Income, 2,000 will be spent on food expense. 1,000 will be spent on transport and will be spent on games expense. 1,500 will be saved for emergencies, savings. This is how a government budget also works. Why is budget important? 1. Prevents overspending. Spend more than we have. 2. Ensures money is used well. The government needs money for roads, schools, hospitals, etc. A budget helps decide where money should go. 3. Saves for future. Just like we save money for later, the government also needs to save. 4. Helps in growth. A good budget helps the country develop. More information about India's budget. In India, the finance minister presents the union budget every year. The budget is divided into two parts. 1. Revenue budget. Money the government earns and spends in normal activities, like tax collections, salaries, etc. 2. Capital budget. Money spent on big things like building roads, bridges, schools, etc. Final summary. A budget is a simple money plan. It tells how much money will come and how much will be spent. Every country, company and family uses a budget to manage money properly. In India, the government budget is called the annual financial statement and is presented in Parliament every year before the new financial year starts. It helps in planning, saving and developing the country. Understanding budget data, explained in the easiest and most detailed way. A budget is a money plan for a government. It tells how much money will come and how much will be spent. But in this budget, there are 3 types of numbers, data. These numbers help the government plan properly. Imagine you are keeping track of your pocket money for 3 years. You need to know 1. How much you actually saved last year. 2. How much you think you will save this year. 3. How much you plan to save next year. The government does the same thing with its budget. 1. Actual data. Final data. A or nothing. This is real data from a past year. The government looks at a year that is already finished and writes down the exact amount of money earned and spent. These numbers are 100% correct because that year is already over. In some countries, they write actual after these numbers, but in India, we write nothing. Example for understanding. Imagine in 2022, you saved 1,000. Now it is 2024, so you already know the exact amount you saved. This is actual data because there is no change possible. How it works in the government budget. If the budget for 2019-20 is being made, then the government will give actual data for 2017-18. Why? Because 2017-18 is a year that is already finished and all the numbers are final. 2. PE, provisional estimates. For the current year. The year is not finished yet, so the numbers may change later. The government makes an estimate guess of how much money is being earned and spent. In India, this number is written with PE, provisional estimate. Example for understanding. Imagine it is March 2024 and you are tracking your savings. You think you will save 1,200 by December 2024, but the year is not over yet. So your savings amount is just a provisional estimate because it's later. How it works in the government budget. If the budget for 2019-20 is being made, then the government will give provisional data for 2018-19. Why? Because 2018-19 is not fully over yet, so the numbers are still an estimate. 3. Budget estimates. B. Budgetary estimates. This is the planned data for the next year. The government guesses how much money will come and how much will be spent. This is not real data, it is just a plan. In India, this number is written with B. Budget. Example for understanding. Imagine it is 2024 and you are making a plan for your savings in 2025. You hope to save 1,500, but you don't know if that will really happen. That is a budget estimate because it is just a guess for the future. How it works in the government budget. If the budget for 2019-20 is being made, then the government will give budget estimates for 2019-20. Why? Because 2019-20 has not started yet, so these numbers are just planned predictions. Final summary, super simple way to remember. Type of data, year it refers to, how sure are we? Symbol used. Actual data, past year, e.g. 2017-18, 100% sure. A. Provisional data, current year, e.g. 2018-19 may change. PE. Budget estimates, e.g. 2019-20, just a guess. BEE. Extra information, more data types in the budget. Apart from actual data, A, provisional data, PE, and budget estimates, BE, sometimes the government also uses 1. Revised estimates. These are updated provisional estimates when the government gets more information in the middle of the year. Example, if the government thought it would earn 100 crore, but later saw it would earn only 90 crore, they revised the estimate. 2. Advance estimates, AE. These are early predictions made before the year is over. Example, a farmer guesses how much wheat he will produce based on the weather, even before the harvest. Final masterpiece explanation. A budget is like planning your pocket money for a year. Actual data, what you saved last year, 100% correct, cannot change. Provisional data, what you think you will save this year, can change. Budget estimates, what you plan to save next year, just a guess. These numbers help the government plan money properly for roads, schools, hospitals, and everything else. This is the simplest, easiest, and most detailed explanation ever. Understanding budget estimates, super simple explanation. Is like a money plan for the government. The government uses different types to track how much money is coming and going. Some numbers are final and can change later. There are 3 important types of estimates. 1. Revised estimate, RE, changing the old estimate. Revised estimate means changing the earlier budget estimate when we get new information. It is used in the middle of the year if the actual spending is different from the plan. Example, you plan to save 10,000 in 1 year. After 6 months, you realize you can only save 8,000. You change your estimate from 10,000 to 8,000. This is called a revised estimate, RE. 2. Quick estimate, QE. Fast guess based on latest numbers. Estimate means a fast calculation using the latest data. It helps in making quick decisions. Example, you are selling ice cream. You plan to sell 1,000 ice creams in June. By June 15, you sold 600 ice creams. You quickly guess that you will sell 1,200 by the end of June. This is a quick estimate, QE. 3. Advance estimate, AE, very early prediction. Advance estimate means a very early guess before full data is collected. It is used for future planning. Example, you are a farmer growing apples. The apples have not grown yet, but you predict you will get 10,000 apples this year. This is an advance estimate, AE, because it is a very early guess. Type of estimate, what it is used, when it is used, revised estimate, change in old estimate, middle of the year, quick estimate QE, fast guess using latest data, anytime, when needed. Very early prediction, before full data is available. These estimates help the government plan money properly and make better decisions. This is the simplest, easiest explanation ever.
Understanding developmental and non-developmental expenditure. The government spends money on many things. This spending is divided into two types. 1. Developmental expenditure, money spent to create something useful. 2. Non-developmental expenditure, money spent on things that do not create new things. 1. What is developmental expenditure? Developmental means helping the country grow by building things. It includes money spent on projects that create factories, roads, railways, bridges, dams, schools, hospitals, etc. These things help the economy by creating jobs, improving transportation, and increasing production. Example, the government builds a new railway. This is developmental because it helps people travel and do business. The government constructs a hospital because it helps people stay healthy. This is developmental because it provides electricity and water for farming. This spending is productive and creates new things. 2. What is non-developmental expenditure? Non-developmental means spending money on things that do not create new assets. These expenses are necessary, but they do not directly help the economy grow. Examples include paying salaries, pensions, interest on loans, defense, subsidies, etc. Example, the government pays salaries to government employees. This is non-developmental because no new asset is created. The government pays pensions to retired people. This is non-developmental because it is a necessary payment but does not create new things. The government spends money on defense, military, weapons, security. Non-developmental because it does not produce goods but is important for security. This spending is consumptive and does not create new assets. Comparison: developmental versus non-developmental expenditure. Type of expenditure, what it means, examples, effect on economy. Developmental, creates new things, roads, railways, schools, dams, factories, helps economy grow. Non-developmental, does not create new things. Salaries, pensions, interest, defense, subsidies, necessary but does not create assets. Important note, earlier, India used this classification in its budget. Now, India does not use this classification. And government now classifies expenditure as planned and non-planned, which is another topic. Final simple understanding. If the government builds something, developmental expenditure. If the government just spends money without creating something new, non-developmental expenditure. This is the most simple and best explanation ever. Plan and non-plan expenditure, explained in the simplest way. The government spends money on many things. This spending was earlier divided into two categories. 1. Plan expenditure, money spent on things related to the government's planned development projects. 2. Non-plan expenditure, money spent on regular, routine government expenses that are not part of a development plan. 1. What is plan expenditure? Plan expenditure means spending money according to a government plan to improve the country. This money is spent on building new things that help the economy grow and improve people's lives. These projects were part of India's 5-year plans. Earlier system. Examples of planned expenditure. 1. Building roads and highways. Helps people travel faster. 2. Constructing new railways. Improves transportation for goods and passengers. 3. Building schools and colleges. Helps in education and knowledge growth. 4. Setting up hospitals. Improves healthcare for people. 5. Developing power plants and dams. Provides electricity and irrigation for farming. Creating factories and industries. Generates jobs and boosts the economy. Key point. Planned expenditure is money spent to create new assets, things that will be useful for a long time. 2. What is non-planned expenditure? Non-planned expenditure means spending money on regular government expenses that are not part of a specific development plan. These expenses do not create new assets, but are necessary for the government to function. Examples of non-planned expenditure. 1. Salaries of government employees, like teachers, police, army, doctors, etc. 2. Pensions for retired government employees, money given to retired workers. 3. Interest on loans taken by the government. Government borrows money and must pay it back with interest. 4. Defense and military expenses, buying weapons, paying soldiers, and maintaining national security. 5. Subsidies, by the government to help people, like cheaper LPG gas, food, or education. Key point. Non-planned expenditure is money spent on things that keep the country running but do not create new assets. Comparison between expenditure, type of expenditure, what it means, effect on economy, not part of it. Planned expenditure, spending on things planned for development, roads, railways, schools, dams, factories, helps economy grow. Non-planned expenditure, spending on regular expenses, not part of a plan, salaries, pensions, interest, defense, subsidies, necessary but does not create new assets. Change in terminology, new terms used in India now. Earlier, India used terms developmental and non-developmental expenditure. In 1980s, these were changed to planned and non-planned expenditure, based on the suggestion of the Sukhumoi Chakravarti Committee. In 2011, a new suggestion was made. India should stop using planned and non-planned expenditure and instead use capital expenditure, money spent on creating assets. Revenue expenditure, regular expenses. Change was recommended by the Dr. C. Rangarajan Committee to make government spending more transparent understanding. Planned expenditure equals spending money to build new things, projects. Non-planned expenditure equals spending money on regular government expenses, salaries, pensions, etc. India no longer. Now we use capital and revenue expenditure. This is the clearest, easiest, and best explanation ever. Planned and non-planned expenditure, explained in the most simple way. The government spends money on different things every year. Earlier, the government divided its spending into two types. 1. Planned expenditure. 2. Non-planned expenditure. But later, this system became confusing and was removed. Let's understand everything in the simplest and clearest way possible. 1. What is planned expenditure? Planned expenditure means spending money on planned development projects. Example. Imagine you are running a school. If you decide to build new classrooms, buy books for the library, or construct a new playground, then this is planned expenditure. In the same way, the government spends money on building roads, railways, bridges, dams, and airports, constructing schools, hospitals, and industries, investing in new power plants and technology. This is called planned expenditure because it is done under a long-term development plan, like the 5-year plan. 2. What is non-planned expenditure? Non-planned expenditure means spending money on regular expenses that do not create new assets. Example. Continuing with the school example, if you spend money on teacher salaries, electricity bills, maintenance, and school meals, then this is non-planned expenditure. In the same way, the government spends money on paying salaries and pensions to government, paying interest on loans taken by the government, giving like discounts on food, fuel, and fertilizers, spending on defense, Army, Navy, Air Force expenses. This spending does not create new projects, but is still important to run the country. Hasha 3. Why did the government stop using this system? Over time, the plan and non-plan system became a problem. Why? It was confusing. Some plan expenditures were not truly developmental. Some non-plan expenditures were actually helping development. It became how the most. It did not help in budget planning. Governments need a clear idea of how money is spent, but this system blurred the lines between development and regular expenses. Budgeting should show real benefits of spending, but this system failed to do that. A new system was needed. The Sukhomoy Chakravarti Committee in 1987 suggested changing the system. In 2011, the Rangarajan Committee recommended a better method of classifying government spending. 4. The new system, capital and revenue expenditure. To solve the problem, the government replaced plan and non-plan expenditure with a new system, capital expenditure, spending money on things that create assets and help development. 2. Revenue expenditure, spending money on regular expenses like salaries, pensions, and subsidies. This system is much clearer because it directly tells us what is being built or developed, capital expenditure. What is just a regular expense, revenue expenditure. Nash 5, the best and easiest summary. 1. The government used plan and non-plan expenditure to divide its spending. 2. Plan expenditure equals money spent on new projects and development. 3. Non-plan expenditure, money spent on salaries, pension subsidies, defense, etc. 4. Problem. This system was confusing and not useful for budgeting. Solution. In 2017, the government removed plan and non-plan expenditure, introduced capital and revenue expenditure instead. 6. Now, the budget is clearer and better managed, showing where the money is spent and what benefits it brings. This is the most simple, clear, and perfect explanation ever. Sure, here is the entire explanation in paragraph form without any changes. The topic discusses how the Indian government used to divide its money budget for spending. Earlier, money was divided into 2 parts. Plan expenditure, money for new projects like building roads, hospitals, schools, bridges, etc. And non-plan expenditure, money for maintaining and running these projects, like paying teachers in schools, buying medicines for hospitals, repairing roads, etc. But this system had many problems, and the government changed it in 2017-18 to a better system. While the need for looking beyond the budget is well accepted, it means that just looking at the budget numbers is not enough. The government must look at how the money is being used and whether it is helping people or not. Imagine your parents give you pocket money every month. If you only look at the total money you get and not how you are spending it, you might waste it on unnecessary things instead of saving for something important. The text also mentions that there are many factors raising doubts on the efficacy and relevance of the 5-year plans as an instrument. The 5-year plans were long-term plans made by the government for economic growth, but people started questioning whether these plans were really useful, efficacy, and if they were still needed, relevance. Imagine a school makes a rule that students should wear a specific type of uniform, but after some years, students feel the uniform is uncomfortable. They start questioning whether the rule is still useful or necessary. The division of expenditure between plan and non-plan is artificial and creates problems, such as plan expenditure, new projects, was always given more importance. Non-plan expenditure, maintenance, was ignored, especially when the government had less money, austerity. Fiscal consolidation means managing the country's finances carefully to reduce waste and debt. Imagine a family has 2 types of expenses: buying new gadgets, plan, and repairing old gadgets, non-plan. If the family has less money, they only buy new gadgets but never repair old ones. This is not a smart decision because old gadgets will stop working completely, causing more problems. The government did the same. They spent money on new hospitals and roads, but did not maintain old ones properly. Another issue was that non-plan expenditure gets the cut, even if it is vitally needed for economic development. The government reduced non-plan spending even when it was very important for the country. A school builds a new classroom, plan, but does not pay teachers, non-plan. As a result, students have classrooms but no teachers. In real life, India built new hospitals but did not spend enough money on medicines, doctors, and maintenance. So, even though hospitals existed, they were not functioning properly. An example is budget provision for maintenance of assets such as hospitals, schools, and irrigation dams already created under plan, but whose maintenance is treated as non-plan. The government built new things, plan, like hospitals, schools, and dams, but when money was needed to repair them, clean them, or pay workers, it was considered non-plan and ignored. Imagine a city builds a new bridge but does not spend money on repairing cracks. Over time, the bridge becomes weak and dangerous. In real life, India built big irrigation dams to store water for farming. But when money was needed for repairing the dam and cleaning the water channels, it was ignored. This caused water shortages and floods. Absolutely. Let's go even deeper into each part in the simplest way, like I'm teaching a young child who's learning this for the very first time. We'll go step by step, word by word, and I'll also give you real-life examples so it becomes super clear. Nash 1. What is revenue? Revenue means money earned by the government or a business. This money is like income. It is not borrowed. It does not create any debt or loan. For a government, revenue can come from 1. Taxes like income tax, GST, customs duty, etc. 2. Fees and fines like passport fees, traffic fines. 3. Profits from government companies like LIC Indian Oil. 4. Grants from foreign countries, free help, not loans. Example, imagine you're running a lemonade stall. You sell 10 cups of lemonade and earn 100. That Rs 100 is revenue. You earned it by selling something. You did not borrow this money. Revenue equals money you earned your income. 2. What is non-revenue? Non-revenue means money that the government gets, but it is not earned, it is borrowed. This money must be returned later. It creates a burden or liability, means you owe someone. For a government, non-new money comes from 1. Loans from banks. 2. Borrowings from the public, selling bonds. 3. Loans from foreign countries or international organizations. Example, back to the lemonade stall. Let's say you don't have enough money to buy lemons. You borrow Rs 50 from your friend. That Rs 50 is non-revenue because it's a loan. You didn't earn it and you'll need to pay it back later. So non-revenue equals money borrowed increases loan. Hat 3. What is a receipt? Receipt means any money received by the government. There are 2 types of receipts. 1. Money earned, like taxes, fees. 2. Non-revenue receipts, money borrowed, like loans. So the total receipt equals revenue plus non-revenue. Example, you get 100 from selling lemonade, revenue, and 50 loan from a friend, non-revenue. Total money you have equals 150. This Rs 150 is your total receipt. Nash 4. What are revenue receipts? Revenue receipts equals money the government earns, not borrows. There are 2 main types. Tax revenue receipts. These are money collected as taxes from people and businesses. Are of 2 types. A. Direct taxes, paid directly to the government. Example, income tax, paid by people from their tax, paid by companies from their profit. You see it directly going to the government. B. Indirect taxes, paid when you buy something. GST, included in the price of goods like biscuits, clothes, mobile. Customs duty, tax on goods imported from other countries. You pay it without realizing it's added to the product's price. So, tax revenue equals all the money collected through these taxes. Non-tax revenue receipts. These are incomes that the government earns without taxing. Examples, fees for things like passport, driving license, court fees. Fines for breaking traffic rules or other violations. Profits from government-owned companies like Indian Railways, LIC. Dividends, earnings from shares held by the government in companies. Interest on loans given to states, companies, or other countries. These are all earnings, not loans. Quick comparison, revenue versus non-revenue. Term meaning creates loan. Examples, net revenue, earned money. No tax, fees, grants. Non-revenue, Borrowed money? Yes. Bank loans, bonds, receipts. All money received, mixed, non-revenue. Revenue receipts, money earned, no. Income tax, GST, profits. Why is this important? The government needs money to build schools, hospitals, and roads, pay salaries to teachers, doctors, police, give subsidies on food, electricity, gas, run railways, airports, and defense. The more revenue receipts the government has, the less it needs. If it keeps borrowing too much, non-revenue, the country gets trapped in debt. Final example to remember everything. Imagine your personal money. You earn rise, 100 from doing chores, revenue. You borrow risk 50 from a friend, non-revenue. Total money is 150. But you will have to return risk 50 later. So earned money is better than borrowed money. Same for the government. More revenue or stronger economy. Would you like me to explain capital receipts and capital expenditure next in the same easy way? I can continue this flow to help you master the entire budget system. Here's your text exactly as you requested without any changes. Tax, non-tax revenue receipt tree. Just like you need money to buy food, clothes, and pay for school, the government also needs money to run the country. The government gets money in two main ways: taxes like income tax, GST, other sources, non-tax revenue receipts. Here we are only talking about the second one, non-tax revenue receipts. What is non-tax revenue? It's all the money that the government earns without collecting taxes. This money is not borrowed, so it does not create debt. It is earned from different sources. Sources of non-tax revenue. 1. Profits and dividends from public sector companies. The government owns many companies called public sector undertakings, PSUs. These companies do profits. Example 1. Indian Oil makes fuel and sells it. Example 2. LIC sells insurance policies. Example 3. Air India runs flights. When these companies make profits, they give a part of their profit to the government. This is called a dividend. So the government earns money from its companies without taxing people. #2. Interest on loans given by the government. The government lends money to different people. It gives loans to state governments inside India. It gives loans to other countries outside India. These borrowers have to pay interest on the loan, just like we pay interest on bank loans. Example 1. The Indian government gives a loan to Nepal. Nepal has to return the loan with interest. Example 2. The government gives a loan to Indian farmers for tractors. Farmers pay back the loan with interest. So the interest the government gets from these loans is non-tax revenue. Money earned from printing currency, stamps, and coins. The government makes money by printing paper currency, notes like Rs 500 to 200, 100, postage stamps used in letters and parcels, coins and medals like Res 1 with 5 coins or medals for bravery awards. The government sells these things and the money earned from them is non-tax revenue. Example 1. You buy a stamp for Rs 5 to post a letter. That Rs 5 goes to the government. Example 2. A gold medal for an award is sold to collectors. That money goes to the government. So even printing things can give government money. #4. Money earned from general services. The government runs many services that people and businesses use. They charge money for these services. Electricity. Government power companies sell electricity. Water and irrigation. Farmers pay for water used for farming. Banking and insurance. Government banks and insurance companies earn profits. Telecom services. Government networks like BSNL charge for calls and internet. Example, when you pay your electricity bill, some of that money goes to the government. When a farmer pays for using water from a government dam, that money also goes to the government. This is not taxed. It is non-tax revenue because people are paying for services they use. Fees, penalties, and fines. The government charges fees for different things and collects fines when people break rules. Fees, money paid for government services. Penalties and fines, money paid when people break laws. Examples of fees. Passport fee. When you apply for a passport, you pay a fee. Driving license fee. When you get a driving license, you pay a fee. Examples of fines. Traffic fine. If you break a red light, the police charge you a fine. Pollution fine. If a factory pollutes the river, it must pay a fine. All this money goes to the government as non-tax revenue. Grants from other countries or organizations. A grant is free money given to the government by other countries or international organizations. Unlike loans, grants do not have to be paid back. Types of grants. Central government gets grants from foreign countries like the USA, UK, or Japan. State governments get from the central government in India. Example, the World Bank gives $1 billion to India to improve education. This is a grant, and India does not have to return it. So, grants are non-tax revenue because the government gets free money without borrowing or taxing. This is your text, copied exactly as it is, with no changes. Let me know if you need it. Alright, let's learn revenue expenditure in the simplest and easiest way. Word by word, line by line, like I'm teaching a little child with zero knowledge. What is revenue expenditure? Let's break this big word into two parts. Revenue means money that the government earns or spends regularly. Expenditure means spending money. So, revenue expenditure means the money spent by the government on things that are necessary for daily work, like running offices, schools, hospitals. Do not create any new building, road, or factory. Are used up quickly, like salary, electricity, food, etc. Different from capital expenditure? Let's take a small story. If the government builds a new school, that is capital expenditure, because something new is created. But if the government pays teachers' salaries to run the school, that is revenue expenditure, because it's just running cost, no new school is built. Important points to remember. 1. Revenue expenditure is like daily running costs for the government. 2. It is not used to create anything new like roads, bridges, or buildings. 3. It is spent again and again every year. It is necessary, though it does not make profit. 5. It is also called current expenditure or consumptive expenditure. Examples of revenue expenditure. Let's now understand the list you gave with real-life examples. Interest payment. The government takes loans, borrows money from inside India and from other countries. Like if you borrow money from a friend, you give interest. Similarly, the government pays interest on loans. This payment is revenue expenditure because it doesn't build anything new. Salaries, pensions, and provident fund. Salaries paid to teachers, police, doctors, etc. Pensions paid to retired government workers. Provident fund is like a small savings for employees. All these are revenue expenditure because they are just payments to people who work for the government. Subsidies. Suppose the price of gas cylinder is $1,000, but the government gives it to you at $700. That $300 is a subsidy. Government gives subsidies for food, fuel, fertilizers, education, etc. This is revenue expenditure because the money is used up, not invested. Defense expenditure. Money spent on the Army, Navy, and Air Force, buying food, clothes, and paying salaries of soldiers. These are revenue expenditures, but building a new army base capital expenditure. Postal deficit. Post offices earn some money by selling stamps, courier, but the cost of running post offices is more than income. This loss is called postal deficit. Government covers it by spending money. This is revenue expenditure. Law and order, paying for police, paramilitary, and courts. For example, salary of a police officer or fuel for police vans. Revenue expenditures. Social and general services, social services, money spent on education, health, sanitation, poverty removal, etc. Example, running a free hospital equals revenue expenditure. General services, tax collection, running government departments. Paying income tax officers equals revenue expenditure. Grants to Indian states and foreign countries. Government gives free money called grants to Indian states, e.g. to build hospitals. Foreign countries, e.g. for friendship or help. This money is not returned. It's a revenue expenditure. One more time, summary in super simple words. Revenue expenditure is the money government spends to run the country for daily use that is used up, that does not create anything new. Let's compare capital and revenue in one table. Feature, revenue, capital. Creates new asset? No. Yes. For long term? No. Daily regular cost? Yes, no. Examples: salary, interest, subsidies, building roads, buying land. A small example from your home. Electricity bill equals revenue expenditure. Buying a new fridge, capital expenditure. Final words, master trick to remember. If the government uses money and it disappears, it's revenue expenditure. If the government spends money and something new appears, it's capital expenditure. Would you like me to make a fun drawing or chart for this too? Or shall we practice with some real-life examples now? Absolutely. Let me now explain revenue deficit in even more detail, step by step, in the simplest and easiest language. Like I'm teaching a small child with zero background in economics. You'll get it 100%, I promise. Step 1, break the term. What is revenue? Means money. For the government, revenue means the money it earns and the money it spends for daily work, not for building things. What is deficit means shortage or less than needed. It's like saying, I don't have enough. Step 2, what is revenue deficit? Now combine both. Revenue deficit means the government is earning less money than it is spending for its daily running, not for building roads, bridges, etc. This is not good. Step 3, government's daily work, revenue budget. The government has two main jobs. 1, daily work, paying salaries, giving subsidies, providing free or cheap services. This is called revenue expenditure. 2, building things, making schools, roads, hospitals. This is called capital expenditure. Revenue deficit is about the first part only, the daily work. Step 4, 2 key terms to remember. 1, revenue receipts, money government earns, income tax, GST, fees, license fees, profit from companies like LIC, Indian Railways. 2, revenue expenditure, money government spends. Examples, salaries of government employees, subsidies like LPG subsidy, pensions, healthcare, education, defense salaries, law and order. Step 5, the main formula. Revenue deficit, revenue expenditure, revenue receipts. Step 6, real life example, story time. Imagine a person named Anita. Every month, she earns $10,000. She spends $12,000 on food, rent, and daily expenses. So she is short of $2,000 every month. That $2,000 is her revenue deficit. Now imagine the government doing the same thing. Government earns $100 through taxes, etc., but spends $120 on salaries, subsidies, etc. Then it has a revenue deficit of $20. Step 7. Why is this bad? The government now has to borrow money just to pay salaries or subsidies. This is like taking a loan to buy food. Not smart, right? Borrowed money should be used to build schools, roads, hospitals, things that last and grow the economy. That's why revenue deficit is dangerous. Step 8. When revenue deficit becomes surplus. Revenue surplus means the government earned more than it spent on daily work. Now the government has extra money. This extra money can be used to build useful things for the country. But the way it gets surplus also matters. If it earns more by raising too many taxes, people may hide income, tax evasion. If it cuts too many important services like health or education, that's also bad. So surplus is good only if it's done in a smart and fair way. Step 9. Show revenue deficit in 2 ways. 1. Example, 2,000 crore 2 as percentage of GDP. GDP means the total value of everything made in the country. Example, revenue deficit is 2% of GDP. Step 10. Summary table. Term, meaning in simple words. Example, expenditure. Revenue receipts. Money government earns, taxes, fees, profits. Revenue expenditure. Money government spends for daily things. Salaries, subsidies, pensions, revenue deficit, government earns less, spends more. Earns 100, spends 120, deficit 20. Revenue surplus, government earns more than it spends. Earns 150, spends 100, surplus 50. Bad about deficit, uses borrowed money for daily needs. No asset created, wastes loan money. Good about surplus, can use extra money for useful things, assets, roads, hospitals, schools. Hack super simple trick to remember. Revenue deficit, earn less, spend more, nothing built, bad. Revenue surplus, earn more, spend less, save money, good. Would you like a simple diag flowchart or quote chart to check your understanding? Or shall I explain the difference between revenue deficit and fiscal deficit next? Absolutely. Let me now teach you the concept of effective revenue deficit ERD in the most simple, clear, and step-by-step way, as if I'm teaching a little kid who has zero idea about economics. Get ready for the clearest and best explanation ever, word by word, line by line, with real-life examples, no tough terms, no confusion, just pure understanding. As step 1, let's quickly recall what revenue deficit means. Revenue deficit equals revenue expenditure, revenue receipts. It means government is spending more money on daily things than it is earning. These daily things include salaries of employees, subsidies, pensions, healthcare, and also grants given to states, free money given by central gov to state govs. Step 2, but not all spending is bad. The government gives money to states and union territories, UTs, in the form of grants. Now imagine two types of grants. One, type A, used for daily things like paying salaries, pensions, etc. This is consumption. Nothing useful or lasting is built. 2, type B, used to build useful things like schools, hospitals, roads. This is investment. Something valuable is created. Even though both are counted as revenue expenditure, the type B grants actually help build the country. So is it fair to call them wasteful? Step 3, the problem with normal revenue deficit. In the old method before 2011, even the productive grants, type B, were treated as non-productive spending, so the revenue deficit looked bigger than it truly was. Step 4, the solution, effective revenue deficit. To fix government created a new term in Union Budget 2011, revenue deficit, ERD. ERD equals revenue deficit minus grants for capital asset creation. Step 5. What is grant for creation of capital assets? Very simple. It's money given by the central government to a state government or union territory to build something useful like a bridge, a school, a hospital, a power plant. Even though the central government doesn't own it, the asset still helps the economy, so it's counted as a full expense. Step 6. Final formula. Effective revenue deficit equals revenue deficit, grants given for capital assets. Step 7. Imagine this story. Government of India earns 100 crore. It spends 120 crore. So revenue deficit 20 equals 20 crore. Out of 120 crore, 10 crore is given to states to build roads and hospitals. This is a good productive grant. Now, hashtag effective revenue deficit equals 20 crore, 10 crore equals 10 crore. So actual wasteful overspending is only 10 crore, not 20 crore. Step 8. Why is this important? It helps us know how much of the spending is really bad, non-productive. It encourages the government to help states build useful things. It gives a clearer picture of government finances. Step 9. Super simple table for clarity. Simple meaning, example. It gives a clearer picture. Revenue deficit spends more, earns 100, spends a 120, RD equals 20 crore. Grants for capital assets. Money given to states to build roads, schools, etc. 10 crore spent to build hospitals. Effective revenue deficit. Real extra spending, excluding productive grants. 10 crore. Actual bad spending. 10. Quick recap in one. ERD shows the real bad overspending by the government by removing the good spending, productive grants, from the total revenue deficit. Bonus tip. Why this makes government look better? If we only look at revenue deficit, government may look careless, but effective revenue tells us, yes, we spent more, but part of it was to build things. So it's a fairer and smarter way to judge how the government is managing money. Would you like a flow chart of how ERD is calculated, a mini quiz to test your understanding, or an explanation of capital deficit or fiscal deficit next? Let me know. I'm here to make it crystal clear for you. Absolutely. Let's now understand this paragraph like we are teaching a 5-year-old, word by word, line by line, in the most simple and crystal clear way. You don't need to know anything beforehand. I'll explain everything from scratch using real life examples, no confusing words, and in the most perfect way possible. Step 1. What is GOK? GOK stands for Grants for Creation of Capital Assets. Let's break that. Grants, money given for free. Creation was to build something new. Capital assets, things that are useful and last for a long time, like roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, irrigation projects for farmers. Step 2. Who gives these grants? Of India gives this free money to states, union territories, and this money is used to do big development work like Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, building roads in villages, Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program, building canals, dams, Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission, improving cities, building homes, water pipelines, etc. So this money is not spent on wasteful things. It is used to build something important for people. Step 3. The problem in old accounting earlier, all of this money, even for building roads and hospitals, was counted as revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditure usually means spending on things like salaries, pensions, daily needs, which get used up quickly and don't last. But spending on roads, bridges, etc. creates permanent things, so it is wrong to call it unproductive. That's why people said, hey, some revenue expenditures are actually productive. Step 4. The government's smart move. The government in term, effective revenue deficit, ERD. They said, let's subtract the good productive grants, GOCA, from total revenue deficit. That will give us a clearer picture of how much spending is really wasteful. Step 5. Why did they do it? The government had a high revenue deficit, meaning they were spending way more than they earned. People were criticizing it. So the government explained, wait, not all our spending is wasteful. Some of it is being used to build roads, schools, etc. That should not be called a bad expense. So we created ERD to show the truth. Step 6. But these capital assets are not owned by central government. Here's something important. Even though the central government gives the money, the assets, like roads, are owned by states or UT, not the center. So the center can't show them under capital expenditure, which is normally for things owned by the center. That's why they still show it under revenue expense, but with an extra note saying, this part is for capital asset creation. What happened later? The new government after 2014 did not focus much on this term, ERD, but it still shared the data in budgets to be transparent. Step 8. Actual data. Super simple. Here's how effective revenue deficit, ERD, looked over the years. Year, ERD as percent of GDP, 2011 to 12, 3.0%. 28-19, 1.5%, 25%, 2020-21, 1.8%. So you see, ERD is falling, which means Gov is becoming better in spending. More money is going into productive use. Step 9, real life story to remember it. Let's say you give 100 to your little brother. If he spends 100 on ice cream and chips, it's wasteful. But if he spends 50 on buying books in a piggy bank, it's productive. Now your parents check. Total spending, 100, but only 50 was wasteful. The other 50 was a good investment. Just like that. Revenue deficit is 100, 50 is 50 bad spending. Effective revenue deficit was a 50 bad, 20 used to buy books equals 30 actual waste. Step 10. Final summary a child can explain. 1. There's grants to states to build useful things, roads, schools, etc. 2. These are counted under new expenditure, even though they create value. 3. So the term effective revenue deficit was made in 2011 to show how much of the spending is really bad. 4. It helps us understand the truth of government finances. 5. Lower ERD means better, smarter, more productive government spending. If you want, I can also draw a flowchart or diagram to visualize this, give a mini quiz to check your understanding, or explain capital expenditure, fiscal deficit, primary deficit in the same simple way. Just say the word. I'll make it shine like crystal. Absolutely. Let me explain this again, step by step in even more detail, using super simple words like I'm talking to a little kid. By the end, you'll understand revenue budget and capital budget like a pro, and it'll feel easy and fun. What is a budget? Imagine the government is like your family. Just like your family, earns money from job, business, etc., spends money on food, rent, school, etc. The government also earns money from taxes, etc., spends money on salaries, roads, schools, etc. This money plan is called the budget. Now, this budget has two parts. 1, revenue budget for daily things. 2, capital budget for big and lasting things. Let's look at both one by one. Now 1, revenue budget, daily use budget. This part of the budget shows money the government earns every year, called revenue receipts. Money the government spends every year on daily things, called revenue expenditure. A, revenue receipts for money coming in. This is like the government's salary. It includes taxes, GST, income tax, etc., fees and fines, passport fee, penalty, etc., interest from loans it gave to others. Example, imagine you earn money by selling lemonade, or your parents give you money. That's like revenue receipts. B, revenue expenditure equals money going out. This is daily spending by the government. It includes paying salaries to police, teachers, giving pensions to retired people, giving free rice or food, paying electricity bills for government buildings. This is called consumptive spending, meaning the money gets used up and nothing is built. Example, if you spend your pocket money on chips, chocolate, and a movie, that's revenue expenditure. You enjoyed it, but nothing remains. Revenue surplus versus revenue deficit. If income spending, revenue surplus. If income spending, revenue deficit. Example, you earn 500, spend 400, 100 surplus. You earn 500, spend 600, 100 deficit. 2, capital budget, big investment budget. This is used for building things, buying big equipment, creating assets that last for years. This part of the budget shows capital receipts, big money coming in, capital expenditure, big money going out. A, capital receipts. This is money that comes from borrowing loans from banks, countries, selling government shares like LIC or BSNL, getting back old loans from others. Example, if you borrow money from your uncle to buy a bicycle, that's a capital receipt. B, capital expenditure. This is money the government spends to build roads, bridges, dams, buy fighter jets, trains, give loans to states, build new schools or hospitals. These are productive expenses. They help in future growth. Example, you use your borrowed money to buy. The cycle lasts years, helps you go to school. That's capital expenditure, capital bastry, capital budget, big plans. It's like when your family plans to buy a new house, renovate the kitchen, get a new fridge. Not daily things, but long-term useful things. Super easy summary chart. Budget part, what it covers. Example, revenue budget, daily earnings and spending. Income tax, salary to teachers, free food. Capital budget, big loans and big projects. Building roads, borrowing money, buying trains. Trick to remember, revenue equals regular, daily use gets used up. Capital, construction, big, long-lasting things. Fun example, you and your pocket money. Let's say you get 500 monthly equals revenue receipt. You spend 400 on snacks equals revenue expenditure. You borrow 5,000 from your uncle, capital receipt. You buy a bicycle literature. Want to go deeper? If you want. Short stories to help remember, a drawing chart, or a quiz to test yourself. Just say it. I'll make it perfect for you. This is your masterpiece explanation. You're now smarter than many grown-ups about revenue and capital budgets, and it was easy too.